Hey home bakers, it's Jack here, bakewithjack.co.uk, bringing back your bread tip videos bit by bit. And last week's sourdough hydration calculation video prompted a question from a few of you. What are you supposed to include in your hydration calculation anyway? Well, let's find out, shall we? Roll that theme tune. Jim, seriously. Hello to you and welcome back to the Bake with Jack YouTube channel, where I am here for you on your bread making journey. Whether you're into sourdough bread or yeasted bread or both, I hope you find something of value here. Couple of shout outs before we begin. Recently I received 2 letters in the post all the way from America. One of them from April in New Mexico and the other one from Oscar in California. Thank you very much. The kindness here at Bake with Jack Towers at the moment is off the charts, and you guys sending me your well wishes all the way from across the pond is unbelievable. Thank you. So I'm going to get the chalkboard out for the last time in a while. I promise to you, okay? I promise. Are you sick of seeing this yet? By now we know how to work out hydration, and it's this, and I'll say it one more time just in case. It is the water in grams divided by the flour in grams multiplied by 100 equals our hydration rate as a percentage. But what about eggs and oil, I hear you ask? What about butter and milk? What about buttermilk, beer, yogurt, fruit puree, mashed potato juice, sour cream? The list is potentially endless, and where does it fit in with all of this? Well, before we make a nice checklist together, first we need to talk about why we do this in the first place, to help you understand, to teach you to fish instead of giving you a fish, so then if there's anything missing from the list that I make that you use in your recipes, you'll feel confident to make the choice yourself whether to include it into this or not. Remember the why. We do this so that we can compare our recipes to others, or today's recipes with tomorrow's, to tweak and adjust our recipes over time to refine them for ourselves. Calculating the hydration of your recipe gives you something to go by this time, so that you may like to make adjustments for next time. Here within our calculation we have 2 ingredients categories. We have the flour, which is the flour, and we have the water, which is the liquid content of the recipe. So we may as well change that up. But what counts as a liquid anyway? This liquid part in our hydration calculation is responsible for hydrating the flour, giving it something to soak in, something to absorb and suck up. Now think about what is not responsible for hydrating the flour, things like butter or potato, and we can divide everything into 2 categories that look like this. The yes category, things that hydrate and therefore make up part of the liquid content of the recipe, and the no category, things that don't. There is also a grey area here of things that are up for debate, and we will revisit that towards the end of the video when we talk about my golden rule of hydration. Let's add it in here. So first up is milk, buttermilk and eggs. You might find a recipe is completely made up of milk in the liquid content that goes in the liquid column. That's an easy one, and it's the same with eggs. Sometimes you get a brioche and the entirety of the liquid content is eggs. You weigh it in grams and add it to your calculation. Beer and cider is clearly a liquid. We can put that there as well. Yogurt and sour cream can be really thick, and so is up for debate, but logic says in my mind that I would take it and mix it in with the water, therefore making up part of the liquid content in which the flour will soak. We put that in the yes column. Butter can be a solid or a liquid, right? Some people add it in their softened form, in their softened solid form, which I tend to do, and some people melt it and put it in with the liquid. Either way, in my mind, it doesn't contribute to the hydration of the flour, and so it belongs in the no category. Oil is a liquid, but it is also a fat, and so I would put it here in the no category, along with coconut oil, which again, like butter, can be a solid or a liquid. But think about it this way. Can you mix it in with the liquid in the recipe? No. It goes here. Now we are in fruit and vegetable territory, and I'm covering as many bases as I can here to be as thorough as I possibly can for you. Fruit juice, I've never done it, but it's clearly a liquid. It would go here in the yes column, and I ran out of space because I'm so clever. Apple puree is an easy one. If you've ever made a vegan donut, cooked apple puree is an excellent substitute for egg, and some would argue that it brings even more lightness and fluffiness to the party, but I digress. Since in that scenario it is an egg substitute, I would put it here in the yes column next to the egg, and here's where things get really tricky. Mashed potato I would do by scooping out a jack of potatoes so it would be quite dry. Let's put it here. Sweet potato in squash is a little bit wetter than that, but that's up for debate. Let's put it in the grey area. Pumpkin puree is even wetter still. You could put it in with the water, but that's up to you. Let's put it in the grey area as well. This is where things get really wet now. I'm talking about berry puree, mango, beetroot is quite wet too. Let's put all these in the grey area and come back to them in a bit. Sourdough starter is a special case because it's just made up of flour and water, so it's easy. We take the water and add it to the water. We take the flour and add it to the flour. We addressed this in the last episode. If you missed it, I'll link it up for you. We don't need to deal with that today. Honey and syrup is where I break my own rules because yes, they are liquids, but the way I see them is that they are substitutes for the sweetness in recipe. You put them in place of sugar. So I would tend to put them in the no pile, but since they are liquids, let's put them in the grey area, and we'll talk about that after when we address the golden rule. Now all this here is not to say that butter or oil or honey, for example, don't contribute to the texture of your dough. They most certainly do, but the point I'm trying to make here is that they're not responsible for the hydration of the flour, and in terms of making a recipe comparison, you'd always be comparing like for like. You'd be comparing a brioche to a brioche or a sourdough to a sourdough. You'd never be calculating the hydration of a brioche, comparing it to a sourdough in order to get the same dough texture or close to it. It wouldn't work that way because there's other more important things at play here, like the copious amounts of butter that is in your brioche dough, or the rye or wholemeal flour possibly that might be in your sourdough. You wouldn't make that comparison. It doesn't make sense that way. You would always compare like for like, and now, at risk of rendering this complete exercise entirely pointless, let's discuss the golden rule. If you are comparing your recipes to your recipes on your learning journey, you make the call as to what to include in the liquid part of your hydration calculation. Even if you are comparing somebody else's recipe to your own and you are making the calculation, you decide. You decide. Just make sure you're doing the same thing every time, and let me explain to you what I mean. You may be experimenting with a sweet potato bread recipe that you saw a photograph on Instagram and thought, hey, that might be nice. You might bake a sweet potato whole and scoop out the middle for your recipe, or you might boil it up in water and blend it. It might be quite liquid, it may even be soup. You may decide to mix your sweet potato soup with the water and therefore include it in the liquid part of the recipe, in which case the sweet potato will go in the yes column for you. It may be useful for you to do it that way, and rest assured, at this point, I'm pretty sure that the hydration calculation police aren't going to come and knock on your door and take you away. Now remember why you want this hydration information in the first place. We do this so that we can tweak the recipe from next time. We can compare the results of today's batch with that of yesterday's. The information is only there to help you, and whatever it is you decide to do and whatever your reasons for doing that, just make sure you keep it the same for next time. Calculate exactly the same way next time you do a batch, and then the comparison will hold true. And so the golden rule, you decide. You decide what to do, but keep it the same for next time in order to cast an accurate comparison, and nobody, not even Paul Hollywood, is going to come knocking, probably. Wow, that was a long one. Listen, I hope that was helpful to you. I took it upon myself to write a blog post of all the hydration calculations. It's a printable one, so you can print it off and stick it in your kitchen cupboard. It's got hydration calculations, as we've spoken about the last couple of episodes, and it has how to do it backwards, which what I mean by that is when you select for yourself a hydration percentage you want to aim for, and you work out the ingredients backwards from that. You can print it off. It's on the Bake with Jack blog, which I will link up underneath for you. That question about doing it backwards got asked a lot. I thought I could do another video on it, but if I do another hydration video, all of our heads are going to explode. I'll save that for another time. And one thing that some of you have asked me about is this. Hold on one second. Last episode, I hung this up on my wall without even explaining what it was, and I hope it didn't seem ungrateful, but the reason I didn't explain what it was is because I know from my little YouTube bubble here what this is, and I just assumed that you would too, but some of you don't. This is an award for that YouTube sends its creators when they pass the 100,000 subscriber milestone. Look at that, if you can see that on there. So if you have seen enough value in what I do here to want to hang out with me on the semi-regular, and you've clicked subscribe, thank you very much, because this is really lovely. Thank you very much for being a part of this with me. I have prepared a short speech. Hold on one second. I've just written it down so I don't miss anybody out. I'd also like to thank the film crew here, Bakery Jack Towers, the editor, the lighting team, script writers, the set design team and producer, my family, for their always unwavering support of my dreams, my agent, my PR management. Pardon? Time's up. Wrap it up. Okay, time's up. Listen, thank you very much, everybody, for being part of this with me. I look forward to seeing you next week or some other time in the near future for another one. Bye-bye. And there it is, your last video on hydration for a while, so pop your calculators away unless you are heading over to the Bake with Jack blog to print off your absolutely free hydration calculation worksheet. And as always, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you again soon.